They say the mountains don't just keep secrets, they swallow them. Out in the backwoods of the eastern United States, there's a place locals call Black Hollow. Folks around there don't talk much about it unless they've had a drink too many, and when they do, their stories all sound the same. People disappear. Strange lights flicker through the trees, and if you're unlucky enough to walk those trails alone, you'll hear your name whispered, even when nobody's there. Tonight, we're not talking about urban legends from some dusty folklore book. These are stories told by real people. Hikers, hunters, families who swore they'd never set foot near Black Hollow again. Maybe it's the thin air in those hills. Maybe it's the way the wind snakes through the pines at night. Or maybe there really is something out there waiting for us in the dark. So turn down the lights, lock the doors, and listen closely, because the further we go into Black Hollow, the harder it gets to find your way back out. The first story comes from a group of college kids out of Kentucky. They weren't ghost hunters, not thrill seekers looking for trouble. Just 4 friends, backpacks full of cheap gear, and a plan to spend the weekend camping on the edge of Black Hollow. The trail they chose had a name that should have stopped them in their tracks. Locals call it the Bone Trail. One of them, a guy named Ryan, told me later, "I knew something was off the second we left the road. Every tree felt wrong, like the bark had faces carved into it." He laughed when he said that, but it wasn't a funny kind of laugh. Because halfway through the hike, they noticed marks on the trees. Long, deep gouges, like someone had dragged steel claws straight down the trunks. At first, they thought it was a bear, until one of the girls pointed out that the cuts were way too high, higher than any animal could have reached. That's when Ryan saw it, something tall, too tall, standing between the trees. He said it looked starved, bones jutting out from under skin that clung like wet paper. Its head tilted, slow as a broken puppet, and its eyes, he swore they glowed like lanterns in the dark. That night, when they finally set up camp, no one slept. Not because of the cold, but because every single one of them heard their name whispered from the woods. First softly, then closer. By morning, the Bone Trail had changed. None of their maps made sense. It was like the forest itself didn't want to let them go. Ryan said they never told the full story to the police, just that they got lost, just that the woods played tricks on them. But the truth is, only 3 of those kids came out of Black Hollow. The 4th, no trace. Not a footprint, not a scream, nothing but a backpack ripped open at the seams. If the forest trails test your courage, then what happened in Black Hollow tests your sanity. Because sometimes, you don't have to wander into the dark to find it. Sometimes the dark follows you home. Back in the early 2000s, a family moved into a small farmhouse right on the edge of the hollow. Mark and Emily Winters, along with their 2 kids. Normal people, normal lives. Until Emily got curious about the stories she kept hearing from the neighbors. Voices in the hills, shapes moving through the tree line. So, one night, she called in a local medium. A woman who claimed she could contact whoever or whatever was trapped on the other side. It started simple. Candlelight, a few whispered questions. But when the medium opened her mouth to speak, the voice that came out wasn't hers. It was deeper. Rough, like stones grinding together. The kids swore they saw shadows climbing the walls, stretching longer than they should have. Within days, the Winters' house turned sour. Clouds of black flies gathered on the windows even in the dead of winter. Footsteps echoed in the hall after midnight. And Mark, who never believed in any of this, woke one night to see a figure crouched in the corner of the bedroom. Its spine arched so high it nearly touched the ceiling, its face hidden except for the teeth. Too many of them grinning in the dark. The medium later admitted something that froze me cold. She hadn't closed the session properly. She left a door wide open, Not a wooden door with hinges, but the kind of door you can't see. A tier in the air between us and them. And once it was open, the Winters realized, you can't exactly shut it again. The next stories don't happen out on the trails or inside a farmhouse. They happen in the forgotten places, spots where the forest has crept back in, swallowing everything man left behind. There's an old mining shack deep inside Black Hollow. Locals say it was abandoned in the 1960s after 3 workers went missing underground. Teenagers still sneak out there sometimes to drink, to dare each other, to prove they're not afraid. But one night, a pair of brothers, Adam and Luke, swore they saw something move inside the shack. Not a shadow passing by, but something crawling on the ceiling, its limbs bending backwards like broken sticks. It followed them out into the clearing, and to this day, Luke still has scars down his back, long, deep scratches. He told me once, it wasn't trying to kill me. It was trying to drag me back inside. And then there's the tunnel. Just 1 mile past the mining shack, hidden under roots and brambles. Most folks don't even know it exists. But in 2011, a group of spelunkers found it, and the deeper they went, the colder it got. They said their breath hung in the air like it was the dead of January, even though it was summer outside. About 100 feet in, they started hearing knocks. First against the stone, then closer. Like something walking just out of sight, tapping the walls with its claws. One of them, a woman named Claire, swore she heard her mother's voice calling her name inside that tunnel. Her mother had been dead for over 10 years. The group ran, dropped half their gear, and didn't stop until daylight hit their faces. Claire never set foot in the hollow again. And every year on the anniversary, she says she dreams of the tunnel filling with water, with hands clawing at her ankles, dragging her down. The hollow doesn't care who you are, hiker, hunter, or just someone curious enough to wander too far. It always takes its payment. Some get out, some don't. And the ones who do, they're never the same again. By now you've heard the stories. The hikers who vanished without a sound. The Winters family, haunted in their own home, the brothers chased from the mining shack, and the spelunkers who heard voices in the dark. Different people, different times, but all of them touched by the same thing. Some say the hollow is cursed ground, an old burial site maybe, or a wound in the earth itself. Others say it's not the land at all, but something older, something patient, something that waits for people to come close enough to listen. Because the hollow doesn't just keep secrets. It learns your name, it remembers your fear, and once it knows you, it doesn't let go. So if you ever find yourself driving through the mountains at night, and the road bends toward a patch of forest so dark your headlights barely touch it, remember this: people still disappear there. The air still shifts when the wind dies, and sometimes, if you roll your window down, you'll hear a voice calling your name from the trees. The choice is yours. Drive faster or roll the dice.